Why the heck? Selena married into our family and even gave us a grandchild. Shouldn't we be grateful for that?
That's right. There are people out there struggling because they can't have grandchildren. I'm offering to help, so what's the problem?
That's what I'm saying. Your attitude is the problem.
My husband was at his wits' end, unable to make sense of the two of them. My name is Paige. I have been married for 30 years and blessed with 2 children, a daughter and a son. When the kids were in middle school, my husband Flint got a job transfer. Since our children were attending a private middle and high school, we couldn't move with him, so he had to relocate alone to a place far enough to require flying. Since then, I have mostly been facing parenting alone. It was a relief not to worry about finances, but the teenage years were really tough. Now, my children have grown up, and just recently my son Joss decided to get married. He's only been out of college for 2 years, and I suggested he save some more money first, but he was smitten and couldn't think of anyone else. I thought it was fine since they decided it themselves, but maybe that was a mistake. The first time I felt something was off was after a family meeting when Selena, his fiancée, came over. She was a lovely young lady with silky straight hair and big round double-lidded eyes. I could somewhat understand why Joss was eager to tie the knot.
Mom, I think we should go with this plan for the wedding.
I thought they were just browsing through a bridal magazine when they called me into the room to show me the venue and plan. I'm not the one you should be discussing this with, I said. But the plan included a famous resort hotel, and the view from the wedding venue was a vast sea. I was captivated by the beautiful scenery in the magazine photos. The cost written below the picture matched the high price you would expect.
Mom, we thought it would be best to discuss with you since you have a budget too.
They said, as if it was obvious we would be paying. Selena seemed to find nothing strange about it, saying, "This food grade should be fine," showing me the magazine. Of course, as parents, we expected to cover some costs in lieu of a wedding gift, but did they just assume that was a given? I couldn't help but question their way of thinking. After Selena left, I asked Joss about it. It's fine if you want to get married, but isn't it wrong to rely on your parents' money from the start? Are you okay for living expenses? Do you have savings?
Weddings are something parents want, right? We don't have savings yet, but we're both working and we'll save up quickly, Mom. You're worrying too much.
I was shocked by Joss's response. It seemed like he wasn't ready at all to start a family. Feeling embarrassed, I contacted Selena's parents to discuss the wedding expenses. Even if parents were to pay, I thought it wouldn't be right to decide on a budget without considering the other party's share. If our family was wealthy, I could have offered to pay everything, but we're just a regular salaried family and our daughter will likely marry someday too. So we can't spend everything on Joss. Fortunately, Selena's parents seem to share my sentiments. In fact, they seemed to think more about what was appropriate for their means than I did and suggested that if they didn't have the money, they could do without a wedding ceremony. But a wedding is a once-in-a-lifetime event. I wanted them to have one, even a small one, and told them so. We settled on a small-scale ceremony. I was relieved to find Selena's parents were easy to talk to, but then Joss scolded me for meddling.
Don't contact Selena's parents without asking. Selena wanted a proper wedding, and now it's turned into a restaurant wedding. She dreamed of a lavish hotel wedding.
I muttered in my heart that this is why I suggested they save up and get married later. But I let Joss's words pass. The wedding came quickly, and though the restaurant brochure said it could accommodate up to 50 guests, it was a small family affair. I thought you wanted a grand wedding with all your friends, I said. Joss hesitated.
Well, it's expensive and...
It turned out he didn't have close enough friends to invite to the wedding. After the ceremony, I congratulated them again. Congratulations! You looked beautiful in your dress, by the way. When are you registering the marriage? I meant it as casual conversation. Just as Joss was about to answer, Selena elbowed him in the side. I think the daughter-in-law and mother-in-law relationship is weird. I married Joss and we'll build a new family together. So you're a stranger now. Don't meddle in our affairs. I was shocked by Selena's blatant hostility. My husband, standing next to me, was also stunned, and Selena's parents looked at their daughter in disbelief. We're going to be happy on our own, so don't interfere. Let's go, Joss.
That's how it is. Just leave us alone.
Joss followed Selena out, leaving only his words behind. We could only watch them leave in shock. My husband, coming to his senses, was furious.
That guy's no son of mine. Don't let him in the house again.
He was angry, but we didn't hear from the couple after that. As a mother, I couldn't help but worry about how my son was living, even if it was better not to get involved. I sent discreet messages to check on him, but though they were read, he never replied. During this time, my daughter Julia also got married. Unlike Joss, she and her husband paid for their wedding, which was quite large with many friends and colleagues. Her husband, saying his parents' house was far from work, set up their new home near us. Julia, now a homemaker, often invited me for lunch or shopping, making sure I didn't feel lonely. Still, there was no contact with Joss. He probably didn't even know his sister got married. Julia got pregnant soon after her wedding. She didn't want to give birth at her parents' home, so I went over every day to help with my grandchild, spending very happy days. Then, 2 years later, I received a message from Joss.
I'll come by the house tomorrow.
It was a curt message, but I had plans to take my grandchild to the dermatologist. I have plans in the morning, so I can't. He read the reply, but again, no response. The next day, Joss and Selena came to our house in the afternoon. They looked different, much heavier than before. What happened? Are you not feeling well?
Actually, Selena gave birth last month.
I had asked about their body shapes, but Joss, smiling happily, reported Selena's pregnancy. Selena, too, was smiling with joy.
Actually, it's quite rare, but we're having triplets.
Triplets? I was genuinely surprised to hear it was triplets. Up to this point, Selena hadn't spoken a word, not even a greeting.
The babies are still in the hospital, but we can finally bring all 3 home the day after tomorrow. The doctors say childcare will be really tough and it's better to get help from others, so we decided to live here and have you help with childcare.
No way! I was appalled at their audacity to decide on their own that I would help. As soon as I refused, Selena cheerfully spoke up. Paige, you get to take care of your cute grandchildren. In tough times, families should help each other out. Which family are you referring to? I'm moving out next month to live with my husband. My daughter's child is adorable, and I'm already happy taking care of her every day. So there's no need for me to bother with someone else's child, right? Is that all you want to talk about? Joss and his wife looked pale at my words.
My sister got married when? I didn't know she had a child.
I have reported everything via messages. It's your own fault for ignoring them.
I haven't seen any messages. Selena?
Joss looked at Selena, who awkwardly averted her eyes. She must be the type to secretly check someone else's phone. I guessed she saw my messages and deleted them, or did something before Joss could see them. It doesn't matter, but that's the situation, so there's nothing I can do for you. We take back what we said about not being family, so please, at least take care of the grandkids. If not, could you send us money every month for them? The always confident Selena now looked desperate. She must have believed that I would want to take care of the grandkids no matter what. I have no intention of spending money on anyone but my family. Why didn't you ask Selena's parents? Both fell silent at my suggestion. Did you tell Selena's parents that they're not family either?
Well, actually, right after we got married, Selena quit her job, and with just my income, we couldn't make ends meet, so we got a lot of financial help from them. But neither of us can cook, and eating out every day, the money just disappeared. When we asked for more money, they told us never to come back.
I was appalled. That explained their body shapes. They probably ate whatever they liked every day. And never come back must mean they took the money without gratitude, acting entitled. I had thought of giving them a lump sum as a congratulatory gift for the bird, but now it seemed better not to. Pampering them even a bit would make them depend on others for everything. Please leave for today. You have preparations to make for the triplets?
Mom, we can't afford cribs or strollers.
If you're working properly, you should review how you spend your money first. Selena, sell that brand bag and clothes you're carrying and try to manage on your own first. You'd better go back and do what you can now. I practically ushered them out. As I told Joss and his wife earlier, I'm starting to prepare for my move to live with my husband. Actually, my husband is transferring back to this region, so we decided to sell this house and buy an apartment nearby. Our kids have left the nest and this house inherited from my in-laws is over 50 years old. It was a good opportunity, a decision made after consulting with my husband. Clearing out the kids' belongings and organizing a single-family house by myself is a daunting task. I worry it won't be done in a month. Occasionally, I take a break to see my granddaughter, but Joss calls nearly every day.
Hey, don't you care about your grandkids? Someone is always crying. It's really tough.
Seek community parenting support. The local office will help you. Bye. If they were nicer, I might have listened. But it irks me that they think pushing the grandkids to the front will solve everything. Selena sends me loads of pictures of the triplets. I couldn't help but find the triplets adorable when looking at the photos. So, I sent a bunch of heart emojis in response. On the day before the move, my husband had returned and we were finishing up the last of the packing and cleaning when Joss and his wife suddenly showed up again.
Really? Is this how you want to be? As my parents, you'll never see your grandchildren again, you know?
That's right. They're only this cute now, you know. There's so much unique cuteness about triplets. Why won't you help? I was exasperated by their opening barrage of complaints. 2 of the triplets were sound asleep, and one was amusing itself by chewing on a towel. Incredibly cute. Have Selena's parents forgiven you? When I asked this, the 2 of them clammed up and looked down. I guess they're still behaving like this. I thought becoming parents would make you understand our feelings a bit, but you 2 haven't changed.
You say adorable grandchildren, but you were the ones who abandoned your parents first. You said it yourself. Stick to your words to the end. Don't come here anymore. Leave.
My husband, meeting Joss's couple for the first time since the wedding, was still irritated from back then and spoke harshly.
If you're selling this house, give it to us. I'm the eldest son. We are selling this house and using the money for the next place we're living with your mom. It doesn't matter if you're the eldest son or eldest daughter. The house is ours to do with as we please. But if we had this house, we could save on rent and make life easier.
Joss sounded almost tearful, clearly in dire straits for money. Why are you so strapped for cash? You said your salary wasn't that bad. It might not be lavish, but you shouldn't be struggling to live. At that, Joss and Selena exchanged awkward glances.
Well, actually, I quit my job. I was headhunted by a company offering double my salary, but it turned out to be a place with terrible working conditions. I ended up earning half and quit last month. I'm job hunting now, but there's nowhere paying as much as my old job.
Joss appealed with tearful eyes. I sympathized with his plight, but that's a different issue.
I understand it's tough, but I can't stand your attitudes. Why not? Selena married into our family and even gave us grandchildren. Shouldn't we be grateful?
That's right. Some people struggle because they can't have grandchildren. We're offering to help, so what's the problem?
That's what I'm saying. Your attitude is the problem.
My husband was at his wit's end with the 2 of them. Please, just go home already. I was exhausted from talking to them, but they refused to leave and the triplets started crying, turning the house into chaos. Mom, I came to help. Joss and family. It's been a while. My daughter peeked in, surprised to see Joss. I haven't told my daughter about the frequent recent contacts from Joss and his wife. I thought it would worry her. She must have been truly shocked thinking they had been out of touch since the wedding.
Big sis, why are you here?
I come by often. Wow, triplets, so cute. Are they Joss's kids?
Yeah, but...
Joss and Selena were taken aback by her reaction. They don't look like Joss at all. Maybe to take after Selena? No, that's not true. Look, their eyes are just like Joss's. Selena was acting somewhat suspiciously. Really? It's great. All three look like their mom. Enough. Let's go home, Joss.
But the money?
I'll ask my parents again. As soon as my daughter arrived, Selena hurriedly put two of the triplets in a stroller, handed one to Joss, and left quickly with a large bag. What's wrong? Did I do something?
Maybe they're not Joss's kids.
At my husband's grim joke, I replied, that can't be. But I couldn't help getting goosebumps. I was truly exhausted from talking to those two, but there was no time to dwell on it. We hurriedly resumed our work. Since then, contact from Joss and his wife had abruptly stopped. However, months later, my phone suddenly rang.
I got divorced. I want to talk.
He had gotten divorced, unsurprising given their picky relationship. I might seem like a cold parent, but I didn't feel particularly moved. Reluctantly, my husband and I decided to meet and hear him out. By the way, I hadn't given Joss our new address. I was worried he might bring the children and refuse to leave. We called Joss to a nearby family restaurant to hear him out. Joss had lost the plumpness he had before, looking so thin that I worried he was ill. Are you okay? You've lost so much weight.
I have no money.
Joss looked down in despair, and my husband and I exchanged glances.
What happened with the divorce? I kept thinking about what sister said, so I secretly did a DNA test. Turned out they weren't mine. Selena just kept saying she didn't know. When I said I couldn't raise them if they weren't mine, she demanded compensation.
Joss's voice broke and a tear fell.
Selena's parents took her back, but the real father demanded compensation from me as the alleged affair partner. Apparently, she was dating us both at the same time before we got married. I consulted a lawyer for free advice, but it's been so busy and stressful that my health deteriorated and I couldn't work.
Joss wiped away his tear and looked down.
I thought I couldn't burden mom and dad anymore, so I've been scraping by with part-time jobs, but I'm at my limit.
What about the compensation? My husband stood with his arms crossed, expressionless. It's impossible not to love a child you have birthed and raised yourself. I felt an urge to help somehow, thinking maybe we should let him come home, get his life sorted out, and then encourage him to be independent.
The lawyer says there's no need to pay and I should rather claim from Selena, but I don't have money for a lawyer or a court case. So it is.
Saying that, my husband fell silent, deep in thought. I, his wife, couldn't tell what he was thinking. So no job prospects?
Not yet. Okay.
My husband looked resolute.
I'll introduce you to a job. Work for about a year and you should have enough to file a claim. You'll manage. Actually, I can't even pay this month's rent. Do some part-time job juggling. Look for day labor. You can survive a month that way.
My husband seemed intent on keeping Joss at arm's length.
Joss, you cut ties with this family. You only play the son card when it's convenient. How many hurtful things have you said to your mother? I don't know a man who only comes crawling back when he needs help or money. You got tricked by that woman because you try to use people. That's terrible.
Joss's tears were not only unstopping, they were overflowing. I listened silently to my husband's words, which were exactly right.
Work hard, get your life back on track. When you do, we might become unnecessary to you again. I'll contact you about the job later. Paige, let's go home.
Saying this, my husband stood up, leaving the crying Joss behind, and quickly left the family restaurant after putting money for the bill on the table. Despite our having only 2 cups of coffee, he left a $100 bill, perhaps showing in his own way that he still cared about his son. I wonder how Joss felt about that $100 bill. Later, my husband introduced Joss to a job. The salary wasn't great, but it was enough for a single person to live on and save. A year later, after Joss started working, he claimed compensation from Selena, receiving a considerable sum. We heard about it through a speakerphone call with my husband. The call started with updates about Selena. Eventually, she remarried the real father of the triplets, who was originally just a fling. The marriage was filled with constant arguments and ended in divorce within 3 months. She received only a small amount of child support and ended up moving back to her parents' house. There, she relied on her parents to look after the children while she went out, which enraged them, and they eventually kicked her out. Now Selena is living in a mother and child home, found a daycare, and somehow managed to secure a part-time job. When Joss made the compensation claim, Selena, who was met with a lawyer, cried out loudly and couldn't have a proper conversation. She's now living on a meager part-time income and government allowances, struggling to make ends meet for herself and her 3 children. Her once lustrous hair is now unkempt, and without makeup, she looks like a completely different person. Joss hasn't seen Selena since then, but he received the compensation in one lump sum. Joss used a portion of the money to apologize to Selena's parents. He calculated the amount he had received for living expenses, apologized, and repaid them. He told us that it was hard for him when her parents cried, saying, "If you had been more responsible, none of this would have happened." At that time, all I could think about was how Joss found Selena. He was so obsessed with seeing her smile that he didn't consider the inconvenience to others. Capturing the attention of the popular and attractive Selena had made him overjoyed. He regretted not being more mature, thinking maybe his life would have been different. But regretting now won't make everyone happy. My husband and I had completely lost our warm feelings towards Joss.
"I want to repay the wedding expenses to you, Mom, and Dad,"
Joss said in a feeble tone.
"Don't accept it until your life is back on track."
My husband replied and ended the call. While we acknowledge Joss's sincere remorse and his effort to improve, his actions can never be fully excused. If this feeling of regret continues when he starts to cherish his family, we might meet and have a meal with Joss again. But until he finds someone important and becomes a reliable family leader, I doubt I can accept him. I realized how important it is not to spoil a child. Now, a new chapter begins with just my husband and me. He's my lifelong partner, and I am determined to spend our days with smiles.